MLAs in the Alberta legislature got in trouble with the speaker yesterday. They were told to stop texting and twittering and to turn off their laptops. Seems these electronic toys are causing a bit of a disruption when the MLAs are supposed to be hard at work.
There's something going on in virtual wonderland called twittering. And it seems that even as the question period goes on, some honourable members have been accessing their BlackBerries to put messages on in the virtual world before the question is even answered by another person. Come on now. We agreed on certain things, certain decorum, and I've even noticed prior to this point in time today, several members had BlackBerries out. Please.
Our radio blogger Ken Chapman has been doing some twittering of his own on this issue. Ken is a lawyer and a policy analyst with Cambridge Strategies in Edmonton. He also has some opinions on a land bill that's before the House. Perhaps that's one of the things that they are twittering about. Ken joins us in our Edmonton studio. Hello there, Ken.
How are you?
Well, quite a kerfuffle when it comes to electronic toys in the legislature. What do you think? What is Ken Kowalski, the speaker, so upset about?
Well, I think he's worried about tradition versus technology, and I think that he's a traditional man. It was a very, very competent and capable speaker. At the end of the day, when you get to know Ken, he's a high school teacher. And I think he's got a job to do, and I think he's offended by this, and I think that he's wrong. I think that this is an unfortunate situation that he's caused here. I think there's some rules that could be put in place, you bet. But I don't think the fact that people are using PDAs in communication and are twittering or on Facebook or, by gosh, heaven forbid, reading blogs or even doing real work while they're waiting for question periods to go through. I just don't think it's that big a deal. I think that it's a tempest in a Twitter teapot, and I think it's best ignored.
Or in a tweet pot.
It is.
Ken, I'm interested to hear what you have to say on this. So you think that the speaker is wrong, and of course I have been reading some of your tweets on your page, and one of the things that you said is that paper is passé. MLAs have to be in touch with the common folk, even during question period, Ken.
Why not? I mean, they pass papers around through pages that deliver it through with great aplomb and great flurry, but the question here is a real communication and connection with the citizens. Why can't we do it through Twitter?
Yeah, but is it acceptable for the MLAs to be fiddling with their electronic gadgetry when they're supposed to be paying attention and answering questions or preparing more questions?
Well, I think they can do both. And I think that this is a matter of you can get away with it and get silly, and if it gets irreverent. I mean, it got pretty irreverent during the mushroom debate, and that was an appropriate debate to be irreverent about. But my gosh, the kinds of things that you see this happening now when we're deciding whether or not we're going to have an official mushroom or whether we're going to have a rodeo as a designated issue. These are not very serious issues. When serious issues happen, MLAs pay attention. But I don't think this is a diversion, and I think that's where the speaker is wrong. I think this is new technology that makes the legislature and the legislators accessible to people. We only got 40% of people participating in voting, for gosh sake, because they think it's irrelevant to their lives. And watching it on television isn't convenient for people. And twittering is only one side of it. I mean, there's other ways of doing it. Lots of MLAs are on Facebook now and doing a very good job. MLAs are back writing blogs and are doing a very good job. And they're starting to Twitter. People don't know what Twitter is. It's microblogging. It's you go to twitter.com and you can see you've got to put your thoughts in 140 characters, including spaces. So you can either be very superficial, very profound, and even some people even get to the point of being Zen-like because they're so deep in 140 characters.
Ken, I want to ask you, though, if this is a separate issue, twittering in the House and using your BlackBerry in the House, from basic common courtesy, because I know that a lot of people are up in arms these days about the amount of texting that's going on. People text while they're eating dinner. They text while they're supposed to be in conversation with their friends. I mean, some people are very offended by this. Is this a separate issue from what's going on in the House? It
is a separate issue. And there is that cultural dynamic. I mean, I've read a report, didn't read a report, I heard of a report of recently that millennials and Generation Y are now pressing doorbells and pointing with their thumb because that's become their dominant finger as opposed to the index finger to do these kinds of things. Darwin must be alive and well if we're starting to evolve that way. But it is a separate thing. It's not, I'm being being kind of silly about it, but it's a pretty serious issue. But the cultural issue is this technology is not going to go away, and we should be using it, and we should be using it effectively. And I think communicating between the legislators and the legislature and what's going on and citizens through these vehicles, they should be encouraged. And there's an issue of decorum. I think it's better that they're doing this and having direct contact than tub thumping and heckling and hectoring and being an embarrassment and rude to each other. Than
Twittering is a lot quieter, isn't it?
Well, and that's part of the problem. Maybe some people see it as subversive. It's not. It's right out there for anybody who wants to read it and watch it. There will be people that get in trouble with it, no doubt about it, and there will be people that will use it very effectively. But I don't think a ban on it is appropriate. I think that I would really like to know what's going on. And if you go to number sign ABLEG, Alberta Ledge, number sign ABLEG on Twitter, you search that, you'll see a number of people who are bloggers and Twitterers who are giving you commentary about what's going on in real time, real life, and it's fascinating to watch. It's kind of like a sport event, but at a much more intellectual level, if you will.
Well, if it brings more people into the political process, that is a good thing from my perspective. But it may very well be that some people were twittering about Bill 19 this week, Ken, and I want to ask you your thoughts on that, because that has really created a lot of discussion in political circles. Bill 19,
yes,
that's that land bill that's coming under fire. What do you think about this?
Well, this is the large land assembly project bill. This is a bill that's designed to make sure that we can actually plan long-term corridor projects, be they for transmission lines or pipelines or roadways or ring roads or even high-speed rail. It's a really, really profoundly important piece of legislation for long-term planning, and it's nice to see a government taking a long-term planning approach. What they fundamentally missed out of the legislation is that they're going to use their power of expropriation to designate land that they need for a future use, which limits people's use of that land until the government decides to take it over. Now, that's the bad part of the legislation. I can understand why people are up in arms about that. The good part of the legislation that they forgot to put in is that when we designate your land, we're going to buy it. We're going to pay you fair market value. We're going to compensate you fully for it.
So they didn't put that in the legislation?
It's not clear enough in the legislation for people to say, I'm going to designate your land. I'm going to use it for a transmission line somewhere in the future. We don't know when and where, but you can't put a new house on that or a barn on that piece of property now because I've designated it, and there's no compensation for you to do that.
Well, I can just imagine that there would be a hue and cry in this province about that. And some people are also saying, Ken, that this is the government's way of pushing through transmission lines that wouldn't otherwise get approval. What do you think about that point of view?
Well, if there wasn't a conspiracy theory, it wouldn't be politics. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's very overt that that's exactly what they're trying to do, and that's exactly what their intention is. The issue is they have a right to do it under law. I've done a lot of work as a lawyer under the Expropriation Act. It works reasonably well. They fine-tune it all the time. This comes from the file of it should have been done a slightly better file, where they should be very clear and overt that we're going to compensate you under the expropriation rules. You're going to be fairly compensated against highest and best use and for your losses when we do this designation. So if we're going to designate your farmland, we should be prepared to buy it now and then let you continue to farm it and use it until we need it.
So are they going to have to go back to the drawing board with this bill?
Yeah, the Premier's already said that. He said there's going to be amendments to it. I think this comes from it should have been done better in the first instance file. I think this is a fundamental mistake that they realize they've made it. They haven't been clear enough on it, and I think they're going to clarify it with an amendment.
Ken, there's always so much to talk about and so little time. We're going to have to just Twitter over all of this.
Yeah, go to twitter.com and join the resolution. Not the revolution, the resolution of the communication problem.
Thank you, Ken.
Talk to you soon.
Ken Chapman, our radio blogger here on Wildrose. He's a lawyer and policy analyst with Cambridge Strategies in Edmonton. You can find his blog at ken-chapman.blogspot.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree with Ken Chapman that the Speaker is wrong and that MLAs should be allowed to Twitter in the House or send notes on their BlackBerry or whatever they'd like to do electronically during a question period? Give us a call on our talkback line, 1-800-461-9219. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on that land bill that Ken was referring to, 1-800-461-9219.